My name is Caleb Hackley, and I have the high honor and privilege of serving as the president of Culpeper NAACP branch 7058, serving Culpeper, Madison, and Rappahannock counties. I also have the privilege of serving as Masters of Ceremonies for this year's Freedom Fund event. So to start us off, I'd like to welcome you. Thank you for coming to join us for such an important event. The Freedom Fund is one of our premier events, and it allows us to do a lot of the great community work we do, such as scholarships and the various other things that we are able to accomplish as a branch. So thank you for taking time on this Saturday to come be here and to honor a man who I know is very, very important to me, and I think is important to Culpeper in general. So again, thank you. Give yourselves a hand for coming. Next, for our order of business, I'll lead us in our invocation. For those who don't believe or don't pray, please observe it as a moment of silence, but let us look to the throne of grace. Our Father and our God, thank you for this day. Thank you for all you've done. Thank you for your grace and your mercy. Father, allow us to come together in fellowship together in peace. Father, allow us to have joy and have understanding and community. We thank you for this day, and we thank you for the ability to be here, to see each other's faces, to hear each other's voices. We ask you to bless this event, and we ask you to allow us to have a good time. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Joy in my soul, God is in control. I got Satan on my trail, but I'm singing all is well. He's attacking every day, but I'm watching while I pray. No matter the attack, I won't turn back. This means This means
come on, y'all, put your hands together.
This means I got joy in my soul. God is in control. I got Satan on my trail, but I'm singing all is well. He's attacking every day, but I'm watching while I pray. No matter the attack, I won't turn back. This means This means This means I plead the blood. There's power in the blood. Healing in the blood. Power in the blood. I've been through the storm and the rain, but the blood still stays the same. Whatever's going wrong, my war clothes are on. I might be in a daze, but you cannot have my praise. No matter the attack, I won't turn back. This means This means This means I plead the blood. It's a prayer for attention. It's a prayer for vision. You can't have my family. You can't have my increase. You can't have my breakthrough. I said, you can't have my, I plead. There's power in the blood. Healing in the blood. Power in the blood. This means. This means. This means.
Thank you for that wonderful series of selections. As we move forward, I'd be remiss, and I overlooked this if I did not acknowledge those who are here. So I'd like to first extend greetings to our mayor and our town council. The honorable members of our county board of supervisors. The chief of our town's police and his complement. Our sheriff and his command staff. And then the honorable members of our school board. Also, I'd like to take the time to recognize our sponsors, and you can see them listed in the back of the program. But at Platinum, we have the Culpeper County Democratic Committee. We have the Culpeper County Human Services, Jefferson Home Builders. For Gold, we have Antioch Baptist Church of Madison, Encompass Community Supports, Germanna Community College, George Washington Carver Regional High School Alumni Association, Madison County Democratic Committee, Safeway, and the town of Culpeper. For Silver, we have the Central Virginia Insurance Agency, Cindy Taylor, Clora English Funeral Home, George James Community Center, John Butch Davies and Margaret Moon, the Jones Group, CPAS and Consultants, PLC, Tibbs Funeral Home and Cremation, and Tip and Charlie Landgraf. Following at Bronze, Belmont Farms, the Culpeper County Republican Committee, John McCarthy, Kelly Pearson, Legacy Enterprise, LLC, Locust Grove Baptist Church, Sharika and Charles Lewis, Out of Sight Events, the Museum of Culpeper History, and Thurston Carpenter. So could we please give all of our sponsors a hand? They make this event possible. We'd also like to recognize one of our scholarship winners who's here. I think I see her, Ava Conway. In absentia, also, we would like to recognize two of our critical community partners. That would be Dr. Katie Crawford-Lackey and Patrick Campbell. They've been doing phenomenal work with us at the Robert H. Smith Center for the Constitution at the Montpelier Foundation. And they were able to do an outstanding series of First Amendment freedom workshops. We were very, very educational, and we look forward to continuing our partnership in February with the next series of workshops that we're going to launch. So again, we thank them for being here or being mindful of us. I'd also like to thank our speakers for being here. So Lieutenant Banks, Ms. Price, Dr. Jones-Lewis, and Dr. K. Wyatt, thank you for taking the time to come here and speak to us. We appreciate it, and I know you'll have something great to say to us. And we could clap for that one as well. And last, and certainly not least, I would like to thank the Freedom Fund Committee, and I'll list off their names in a second, but everything that you see around you is because of their work, their dedication, their time and their energy they poured into this endeavor, and they did a phenomenal job. And the members of that committee would be Cindy Taylor, Carol Nelson, Jane Johnson, Ayanna Summerlin Rosa, Reverend Frank Lewis, Charlie Landgraf, Tip Landgraf, and then First Lady Lewis, and Miss Jennifer Jackson. So if we could please have a hand for all of them. They made my life incredibly easy for this process. Now this year has been pretty busy for us. We were able to, again, to commemorate MLK Day. We've awarded 6 scholarships at 3 of our regional high schools. We were able to celebrate several winners of our Black History Month essay contest, and we focused on specifically artists and art that inspired us in the African American experience. We were able to celebrate our inaugural Juneteenth event in the park, and that was in their leadership of Reverend Adrian Sledge, our Religious Affairs Chair. We hosted 2 great book club events with another one scheduled for January. Again, we had a wonderful host of First Amendment freedom workshops in partnership with Montpelier. We've been at numerous events, including Culpeper Pride and BIE Day. We were able to work through numerous legal redress complaints and concerns. We've hosted several events focused on health and wellness, and we've registered dozens of people to vote, especially young people, which that's what I'm most proud about, right? This is an election year, and it's important that we all exercise our right to vote. That was just a brief recap, but again, I want to say to the branch to take a little bit of personal privilege. Thank you all for all of the hard work that you do. Thank you for pouring your time and energy into everything that we do. I know that it can get a little tiring at times to do the work, but you all remind me that it's worth it, and I hope that you guys feel the same as well. So thank you. Now, we have one speaker that we're going to have before we adjourn for lunch, and that's going to be Dr. Sharika Jones-Lewis, if she is ready. Hear ye her.
Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to be here with you today, speaking on the topic of looking forward, moving forward, and not moving backwards, right? And so we are here today, and I'm going to talk about a mixture of my personal and professional experiences, because if I feel like if we're doing it right, they are one and the same at many times. I'm going to start this conversation because I will be asking some questions off how I start many of my conversations with folks, and that's with some disclosures. So the first one I want to tell you is that I am an educator. I was a teacher and a school administrator. I now teach teachers at the University of Virginia. And that means that I really, really want this to be something that works for us, right? I don't want to stand up here and bore you, so I'm going to keep looking up and see if I need to pivot in my conversation. Teaching is not teaching if no one is learning, right? And so we want this to be a conversation. Number 2, you may have noticed already that I have a slight stutter or a stammer. It's slight right now, may get a little bit more serious. I told y'all before that I was a teacher. I taught 6th graders, and so I'm not afraid of adults. I can stand up in front of anyone and talk. 6th graders are very, very, very honest. And so they will hit you with the Dr. Jones-Lewis. Now, you know you need to slow down, right, baby? And so if I start to stammer or stutter, that will be my signal to myself that I need to slow down. If you giggle a little bit, I'm not going to be afraid. I taught 6th graders. And the other thing I need to say about myself is that I am a mom and a wife and an auntie in the broadest sense of the word, right? I feel like I have on boots, but I'm kind of auntie height, right? And I feel like I'm like auntie shape. I feel like I was born to be this age so that I could just give hugs to everyone and it not feel weird. So that's how I am entering this space. So a little bit about me is that I was born in Orange County, Virginia, and my mom is a Jones from Orange County, and my father is a Spotswood from Madison County. If you know some Joneses and some Spotswood, then yeah, that's about how my life was growing up. And so I have a sister who is here, who is my very, very best friend on the face of the earth. We are 18 months and 1 day apart. And so she's not my twin. We actually don't look a lot alike, but that's my twin spirit there. And then I had a brother who didn't have the privilege of having another brother. He just had two amazing sisters. And so we grew up with a single mom, and I would love to say that what we learned from that is the kind of canned things that people always say that they learn, right? So we learned to be resilient and hardworking, and I just don't think that that's accurate. I think that we need to be honest with ourselves that when children are growing up in a space where they're not fully supported by their family and by their communities, they do learn to be resilient, but resilience is not something we should be striving for. I want to let that sit for a moment, right? Resilience is not something we should strive for. Resilience is a response to consistent levels of trauma. And when we are teaching our children to be resilient, we are teaching them that the ecosystem in which they are living and are trying to work and to be is okay, and that they are the problem, that they need to learn to, handle it better and to be more resilient, right? And I would describe myself as a resilient person, but I don't want to be resilient. I'm 42 years old. I'm tired. At 42, I'm very tired. And I know that if I'm tired, and I'm looking out at many of you, you are overly tired. Wait a minute. Overly tired, right? We've been working on some of the same things for far too long, right? And so as individuals, as communities, we must be moving forward. When I went to school at Orange County High School, I was freshman class, sophomore class, junior class president. I was the student council treasurer, vice president for 2 years, and then senior class. During my senior year, I was the SCA president. The only reason I wasn't senior class president is because they didn't allow us to do both, right? I was also on FBLA, FHA, anything you can think of. I knew two things. I needed to get out of Orange County, at least temporarily, and I had no money. And so I knew, I was taught that I could work my way towards success, right? Is that a good thing to teach people? Yes, right? Hard work is a good trait to have. But I'm here to tell you that I often speak on this subject to folks, and that overworking is a trauma response. I'm gonna keep bringing it back. Overworking was a trauma response. I also worked 30 hours a week and I had a full class load. I left Orange County. I went to VCU and hated it. It was terrible, y'all. First of all, you don't go from Orange County to Richmond, like that's just a lot. They had rats, and I was just like, what is that? The cat's rat? It was scary to me. And it wasn't challenging. I was doing no studying, barely going to class, and I had all A's. And I knew that like this isn't good for me. So I transferred to Mary Washington in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Yes, Mary Washington is, listen, yes. And if you have seniors or juniors, please look at Mary Washington. It's a great, great school. I transitioned to Mary Washington, and because of the transition, I had lost a few credits. So I did the me thing, and I took 7 classes at a time, so 21 1-credit overloads, and I still worked 30 hours at Mario's Pizza in Orange, Virginia, and I was a nanny 3 days a week. So this was at 22. No, that's a lie. That was at 19. So from 19 to about 22. And I did it, and it was, fine, and I was being resilient, and I was working hard, but I was tired. And I couldn't figure out, like, how is everyone else doing all of this? And I just, head down, moving forward. I must say that through this time, I had a partner. My husband is Charles Lewis. We have been together since we were 16 and 17. We got married at 22, right? So I graduated with my bachelor's, and then I got my master's, and we got married a month later and bought a house. And then I started working because that's what I was taught to do. And I worked at a wonderful school, Yancey Elementary School in Albemarle County. I went to work there because at the time, the school was the worst performing school in the district. And you know me, I like hard things. When I left, it was the highest performing elementary school in the district. And I am going to toot my horn here. I taught every single student, 3rd through 5th grade, all mathematics. They were rocking and rolling. My babies now are doctors, lawyers. They are messing up the world, y'all. And I'm so proud of them. Then I knew that I needed to make a bigger impact. So I was really helping my kiddos at Yancey, and it just wasn't enough. There were too few kids, and they were going to middle school, and they were kind of getting swallowed up. And so I said, well, I know how to fix that. I'll go teach middle school. And that's what I did. I went and taught middle school at Jackson P. Burley Middle School, and I loved it. And I was teaching the babies, and they were doing well. And then I was like, but what happens after this? And so then I went and got my doctorate and got my admin license. And I went and became a school administrator. And then COVID hit. And they said, you need to come into the schools because there are some of the kiddos that are still at school. And I said, some of the kiddos that are at school are not my kiddos. And what I'm not going to do is leave my children at home to fend for themselves while I go and teach other people's children. So I transitioned to the Equity Center at the University of Virginia. And it was scary, y'all. I'm a Capricorn. I don't know if y'all noticed yet. I'm a Capricorn, and Capricorns have a reputation for being pretty stubborn, but also pretty just stable. Like we just like to do the same thing over and over. We really like things to be very predictable. When I went to the Equity Center, my boss said, the word equity is not everyone's favorite. I think we'll have jobs for maybe 5 years, but I can't promise anything after that. And I had to pray about it real hard. But we're at 5 years this year. We may not exist after November, but it has been a beautiful experience. At the Equity Center at UVA, I am the director of community research, where I get to help the university to be a better neighbor. A lot of the research coming out of the university gets filtered through my office, and I get to tell people to be kind, right? To treat people like people. I also get to help people transform their research into practices. So if we're going into a neighborhood and we're studying to see, does the lighting in the neighborhood affect crime? And we find that, oh, yes, it does. And if there's better lighting, then maybe there's not as much crime in this spot. Then we should also be writing into that grant monies to make better lighting in those spots, right? I also help to lead the President's Council on UVA Community Partnerships, and it has 5 working groups. One of them that's really pertinent to this community is the Community Safety Working Group. And so we work with the UVA, Charlottesville, and Albemarle police departments, as well as both school districts and lots of nonprofits to try to make our community safer in a very upstream prevention, intervention focused manner, so that we are making the ecosystem better for people so that they do not have to be so resilient, because being resilient is hard. And I have done it, but I do not want to continue to do it. So I stand before you today asking you to continue to move forward and to not turn back, but also asking you to really keep pushing for that ecosystem level change. It's not one person, it's not two people, it's not a small group of people. We have to be working together in order to enact real change, and we can do it. I believe in us, I believe in you, and I believe in the NAACP. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jones-Lewis, for that very, very insightful message. I will say that I feel like you may have talked to some of my executive committee members, as they tell me all the time to stop running so quickly and to enjoy life. So thank you, and to all my executive committee members, we will convene after this. Moving forward, the next item of business that we have is lunch. And so before we go into lunch, I'm going to call and I'm looking for my predecessor as president, Reverend Lewis, if you could come and bless the food for us. And then we'll turn it over to Peppers and they can dismiss tables as they like, and we'll dine.
I want to say to the Peppers staff, first of all, I think I told you we was going to direct tables, but you all can do it. Okay? Thank you. Let us look to our Creator and our Maker and be thankful for this day, thankful for this fellowship, this time together, and that we may use this togetherness so that we can be a people together, because all things work better when we are together, pulling together, pushing together, being together. So Father God, we come now to ask your blessings upon this fellowship and the food that has been prepared for the nourishment of our bodies. And we pray, Almighty God, that you will bless it, bless hands that has prepared it, and bless each of us as we fellowship and we partake of it. In the name of our Savior we pray. Amen. 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 Follow the
And so we're going to start moving forward to our next item on our program, which is a special art presentation. But before we get to that, I missed two members of our Freedom Fund Committee, and I'd be remiss if I did not honor them for all the work and participation that they put in. That'd be Mr. Steve and Kim Jones. They are members of our Freedom Fund Committee. They have worked super, super hard along with their fellow members, and I want to make sure they get the credit that they are due. But now I will turn the floor over for a special arts presentation by Ms. Corey Price. I'm very excited to see everything that she has done. So here you are.
Good afternoon. I'm Corey Price. I am an artist, a photographer, a writer, a weaver, an electrical engineer. Surprise! A project manager, a product marketer, a product manager, a leader of a Black arts collective, a board chair, a gamer, a proud nerd, an avid reader. I heard a whoop whoop, nerds in the house. A proud nerd, an avid reader, a rugby player, a weightlifter, a dog mom, a friend, and a daughter. I contain multitudes. And though I contain multitudes, sometimes all people see is black. That's all they see. So when I originally got into photography, what I thought I would be making is work like this. Beautiful sunsets, chasing golden hour, finding the best place to take photos, capturing the drama of the landscape. And I also thought I would be doing a lot of this: weddings, celebrations, graduations, all sorts of documentation of moments that we don't want to forget. What I found myself doing was a surprise to me. I started making art about the Black experience. So you were like, wow, surprise, engineer. So I started working for GE out of college in Pittsburgh, and I really discovered that, you know, everywhere I go, I tend to be the only one or one of the only ones in the spaces that I was in. And so part of that means that you are sometimes invisible and highly visible at the same time. Invisible because your culture is unknown, and highly visible because you're the only one, despite people saying that, oh, I don't see color. So I had a couple of experiences where I would be in the kitchen or in the cafeteria getting coffee, and I'd feel hands in the back of my head. And I had just gone natural. I had just started twisting my hair like it is today. And I turn around and I was shocked. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know who dared touch my hair, right? And there was a coworker, and she's friendly, she's a wonderful person, and I didn't want to offend her, so I didn't say anything. And I felt a little upset that I didn't. Then a couple of years later, it happened again, and that time I was prepared. I said something, and that white woman, she bawled her eyes out. She was so upset. She was so, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, I didn't know. And it almost felt, and I know that's not what she meant, but it almost felt like she wanted me to feel guilty about saying something, about invading my personal space. And so as I had these conversations with more and more folks about black hair, I realized there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity to use photography as a means of starting a conversation about something that's incredibly important, which is sharing our culture and making sure that we remain visible. But I wanted to do it in a way that would be fun. I wanted to do it in a way that would be easy to identify with. And so what else than hair? Everybody's got it or used to have it. And, and it's a part of our identity. It's a part of how we express ourselves. And so my first foray into using my photography experience was called 28 Days of Black Hair. And so I went into a couple of barbershops and salons in Charlottesville, and I documented folks that would let me take, as they were getting their hair done or just gotten their hair done, as they were getting their locks redone, as a woman was cutting her locks off to support her sister as she battled cancer. So I caught all these moments of joy, expression, of loss, of resilience, of all of these wonderful moments in this really traditional cultural black space. And I also want to share the versatility of black hair, because often black women, you know, we walk in one day and our hair looks one way, and then the next day it looks a second way, and people are like, oh, I didn't recognize you, your hair's longer today. And it's like, it's magic. This is magic, the versatility of what we can do with our hair and all of the cultural roots that are associated with it. I wanted to express that. So that was my first foray. Then my second foray was in 2022 with my first solo art exhibition at New City Arts in Charlottesville, Virginia, called You Can't Compromise My Joy. And really where this started is back in 2017. I had just moved into my house, living there with my dog, and it was a couple of days before Thanksgiving, and my dog wakes up and she's barking. And so I wake up and I hear really loud pounding, and it sounds like it's coming from my back door. And so I got scared. I called the police, said, I think somebody's trying to break in, and they said, oh no, it's the Albemarle County Police Department. They're there to talk to you. I was like, okay, about what? She didn't answer, she hung up on me. I'm like, great. So I answered the door, and they looked surprised, and they said, are you such and such? And I said, no, she moved from here. They're like, oh, okay, well, thank you so much, have a great evening, and left. They were looking for the person who lived in my house. I didn't really think much of it. It was a peaceful encounter, despite the sleep I did not get that night. And didn't think about it again until 2020 when Breonna Taylor was murdered. Because I realized that at any time, any black person could be the subject of police violence and police brutality. And that all it takes is a no-knock warrant that shouldn't have been served at her address, right? So that could be any of us. And so I wanted to capture that impact, and I needed to process that emotion in some way. So what I did is I created the headspace of a black woman in the gallery. So it's hard to see from the back, but in the front in the door as you come through, there are twists, just like my hair is twisted. And so you actually have to push through the hair to come into the space. There's a curtain of hair weavings made with faux black hair that show that you are now entering the Black woman's headspace. And now that you're in the Black woman's headspace, you can begin to understand what it's like to feel terror and to have to choose joy. So the terror for me was what could have been if the 36 bullets fired into Breonna Taylor's house were fired into my bedroom. So this is sheetrock that's painted the color of my bedroom walls. And I also used report pages from the Louisville department, I think it's Louisville, to show the terror as well. So they were hanging down from the ceiling of the gallery, and you had to navigate through all of these papers to find and choose joy. And I have photographed somewhere between 20 to 30 Black women in Charlottesville and asked them to share their joy with me and let me photograph you doing the thing that brings you the most joy. So that was my second project. My most recent work is called Walking Dualities. It was in the part of the Paramount Theater in Charlottesville's call for artists to commemorate the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and to draw attention to the history of their 3rd Street box office, which was the segregated colors only entrance. And so when they did renovations, they actually chose to keep that history alive and they wanted to bring attention to it. So I was one of 3 artists chosen, and I made this piece, which is in the installation, this full photo that you're seeing here, it's cut into 2 photos, and it was between 2 trees on the outside of the walkway as you walk down to the downtown mall. And then I had some banners that had a couple and on the other side, a mother and daughter, as if they're walking out to the box office. And the idea here is that these folks that you see on the screen, they're representing people of the past who would have walked down that same sidewalk and then stopped at that 3rd Street box office instead of going in to the front doors. The goal of this exhibition, and I'll show you some details here, was to show that there's this duality between being made invisible by having to go into a separate entrance and sit in a balcony, but also going with your family to enjoy a play, to enjoy a movie, experiencing that from the best seats in the house. I've heard the acoustics are better in the balcony, and also, isn't it fun to sit in the balcony and watch a performance? There's a duality there. That's the Black experience, is a duality between being seen and being made unseen. So this artwork was very seen because, unfortunately, here's another detail shot. Unfortunately, it was vandalized. It's hard to see, but there's a cut through sort of the lower half of this woman, and the tops of the banners were cut as well. Each and every banner was cut. Uh-oh, that's my timer. We're gonna go for like 2 more minutes. And then I'll be done. I hope that's okay. Great, wonderful. So the tops of the banners were cut as well, and it was very intentional. The police still haven't found who did it, but to me, if you're gonna take something down and make a statement, this is how you do it. Instead of cutting the line, they cut through the banner, they cut through a person on the banner. And so I had a decision to make. Was I going to replace them? Was I not going to replace them? Was I going to repair them? And the answer to me was very simple. It is, they go back up, and if somebody wants to take them down, they go back up again and again and again, because they deserve to be seen. And instead of completely replacing them, I chose to keep those wounds, those cuts, because it's important for us to acknowledge our history, and it's important for us to understand that we can heal from that. So after the Japanese tradition of kintsugi, which is an art form where ceramics that are broken are repaired with gold, I repaired my banners and I dusted them with gold leaf to draw attention to the hurt can be healed. So in closing, I'm thinking about Dr. Jones-Lewis's talk about resilience and how we are tired and we need to find ways to rest. But we also need to find ways so that we don't have to continue to be resilient. And what I'd like to offer is, I think it is so important, and I think it is our responsibility to use whatever our God-given talents are, to use whatever we can to share this message, whether it's through art or speaking or writing or acting or activism or photography. It is our duty to make sure that we show that Black people are not just this, that we all contain multitudes. Thank you.
And we certainly want to thank Corey for that impressive and very intentional presentation. As she was speaking, the concept of double consciousness weighed on my mind, pioneered by Dr. Du Bois in his literature, The Souls of Black Folk. And I think that the work that you've done is amazing and it's necessary because we have to remember to rest, but also to continue to work. I'm only 25, pardon my youth, but some of the stuff that we are confronting, my grandfather and my great-grandfather and my great-great-grandfather confronted, and that's not what I want for my children. So work hard, but also rest so that you can see your children, right, and see that next generation. Moving forward, we now have a presentation by Dr. Melanie K. Wyatt, and I'm excited about this. So, well, I'm excited about every single presentation, if I'm being transparent, but we'll welcome her. Hear ye her, and I hope we learn something great.
I didn't know if I had the option to do a PowerPoint, so I was sitting there really quickly. And I was also approving some reports from July, and that was the date that it should have been approved. So please disregard that right now. But good afternoon. We're in the afternoon now, so thank you. What an honor it is to be here. But before I begin, I have to say thank you to the NAACP for this invitation. I heard about the event last year, and I was going to attend. Of course, my schedule got a little busy, so I was not available. And then when I got invited to be a speaker, and I thought, what an honor, because this is like coming home. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Melanie K. Wyatt. I'm the superintendent of Alexandria, Virginia, but this is like home. This is part of where I grew up, here in Culpeper. When I was a little girl, I had a hard time saying it and spelling it. How many P's are in it? Get it straight. My mother corrected me. My mother is Ella Lane K. I have my father here with me. Thanks, Dad, for being here. Bob K. I have all of my aunts. And we heard the speaker earlier talking about 6th grade is tough. When you got a lot of aunts from Culpeper, that's worse than 6th graders. Let me tell you, boy, we were in the hallway and I thought, maybe I should just get back in the car and go home. They were like, fix your hair, fix this. I'm like, I go to work every day at 54. I think I do okay. So, but no, what an honor it is to be here. But I do want to make sure I recognize a few others. The work that I do as a superintendent is hard. And so I have a colleague here today. Dr. Tony Gratz, where are you? Thank you for this hard work, doing it alongside to make an impact for children. Our jobs are not easy. I'm sure we have laughs and cries, and I'm sure this community appreciates all you do. So thank you for being a colleague in this great work. Also, Jennifer Jackson, I'm not going to bug you, and your husband doesn't have to take my phone calls anymore for me asking all these questions. Thank you for allowing me to get here. And recently, about 2 weeks ago, I had an opportunity. There's a national magazine for educators. It's called Ed Week, and they asked if they could do the story about me because they saw me at a conference, and they were like, oh my gosh, where'd you get your clothes from? And I said, I kind of have a stylist. She's kind of like family. And so they did a national article on me, and out of all the superintendents in the world, I'm thinking I'm the least person. I like literally grab what's on the rack and keep it moving. But Sandra Reeves Yates, where are you? Because of you, I have a stylist, and I'm in a national, not for books or students, but because I have cute clothes. So, but I'll take it however I can get it. So thank you for always making me look good. When I was asked to do this presentation today, it was about talking about my accomplishments, my roadblocks, how I overcame adversity, I can't say that word today, adversity, and just telling my story. My story is not that exciting. It's no different than any other educator or person who's had to go through things in their life personally and professionally. I've raised my 2 girls on my own since they were about 2 and a year and a half, or no, that's not the right math. They were little. They're 26 and 28, so forgive me if I don't remember. They're grown-ups now, as I always tell them, but they're still my babies. But I said, yes, I would tell my story because I hope that whatever I do each and every day when I wake up, that I'm going to have an impact on at least one person when I go out into the world. So that's what I tell myself each day, because it's very hard to get out of the bed sometimes in the morning when you have to face the work that we face in schools. And so when they told me about the theme of moving forward, not looking back, I thought about the day that when I was named the permanent superintendent of Alexandria City Public Schools. There's ugly cry pictures of me out there in the media, and I'm like, can we not post those anymore? Like, when you cry, have you ever seen a picture of you crying? Even a happy cry, it's not a pretty sight. But on that day, I had an interview. I had 4 interviews that day with the Washington news media, and I was good. I was nervous, and I'd been interim, so I'd done interviews with all of these, medias before. But right before, my dad sends me this picture. And I'm like, why is this man sending me this picture? I've got Channel 7 downstairs. I got 4, and I'm nervous. And I've done all this before. But he sends me this picture, and it's a picture of my mother, Ella Lane Kay, if you guys don't know her. I am Virginia. Yes, everybody knows. What did they call her? Miss Jenny. We're here. I am her granddaughter, and that's her daughter, my mother, Ella. And so my dad sent that to me because that's a picture, and he goes, did you ever think that you were going to be the first Black woman superintendent of a school division? So I'm in the interview, and it's still out there. I cannot stand this interview because she's like, are you ready? I'm like, no, my dad just sent me a picture and I'm crying. So I'm like, so you'll see that's an ugly cry video as well. But I'm sitting near Alexandria, where I now work as the first Black woman in this role. So that picture is unique. So don't take a picture because the media's been trying to get it up there. They're like, can we use that picture? I'm like, no, because that picture is for me and my family to remind me of the very theme that we're talking about here today, and that's moving forward, not looking back. And so when I thought about moving forward, that's what we want for all of us in our community, especially as an NAACP. We want to move forward, not look back. But however, we do need to be reflective in looking back. Does anyone know what this is? Thank you. I don't get that answer very often. Sankofa. Anyone else? Sankofa? Sankofa. So this is a picture of a bird who's walking forward. They're also looking back, right? Because we have to be reflective and learn from our past. But in the bird's mouth is this egg to remind us of the promises of the future. So Sankofa is very important to the work, obviously, of the NAACP and every educator and each one of you when you wake up each day. So keep moving forward, but be reflective. Don't look back, but be reflective. But reminder of that egg that we have a promising future in what we do. And it's not easy. And I can tell you about my story of how that's not easy. And by the way, I am 1.4. I am 1.4. So my journey, I grew up in Landover, Maryland. I came down here to my grandmother's house. It was not maybe as big as this room, but there was always 100 people there. So family and faith was, you guys have been there, I can tell. Yes, it was crowded. But what I've learned from that is that family and faith is very important to me through all of my challenges. Like I said, I've raised my 2 girls. They're adults now. I was going to be a lawyer. That didn't work out. Started going to law school, didn't like it. I immediately became a special education teacher. And so why today is important to me also is because my very first education job was in Culpeper County, Virginia. I was a middle school teacher. And I was probably the worst middle school teacher you could ever imagine. I had no idea what I was doing. At least that's what I thought, until I still hear from those students today who tell me about the impact that I had no idea I was making. You never know who you're going to touch. So after that, I was a special education teacher, became an assistant. I'm going to go real fast because I'm 54. There's a lot to tell, so I'm going to go real fast. Became an assistant principal, assistant director, And I only became a director in Spotsylvania County because I got a closed door in Fredericksburg of a job that was promised to me. And you talk about devastated, because I was promised that job for like 3 or 4 years. And so I was going to be this director there. And they were like, we need you as a principal. You got this school out of improvement, but we need to get it 1 more year, and I need you to stick around. And something in me said, sometimes a closed door is a redirection. And that redirection for me was Spotsylvania County. Spent 3 years there in human resources. Whew. Everyone doesn't listen. Let me just say, that was very challenging. And it was COVID. It was COVID. So that's okay, and I'm getting these calls, and they were like, we really want you to come to work in Alexandria. And I love Alexandria City. And I thought that, grass is greener on the other side. And so they offered me a job as the assistant director of human resources. And I spent that 2.5, 3 months in that role, quickly became acting chief of human resources 4 months in. After that, I became chief. I was chief of human resources for a month, and a month later became the interim superintendent of Alexandria, which I did for a year. Most challenging job of my life, until I became the permanent superintendent of Alexandria City Public Schools. Alexandria is very rich in history. Lots of history rooted in lynchings, if you don't know that history. So to be the first Black woman there, it had a strong, powerful meaning that I have never experienced in my life from walking through that community. Little girls coming up saying, you know what, my hair looks like yours. Or parents and women coming up to me and said, representation matters. So when you talk about it, it looks really pretty on the outside, but it is not an easy job. So people are like, where's Alexandria? Who do you work for? I have 18 schools, 16,000 students. We're very diverse, but this is how I sell it. Everybody know you're ready for this? Okay. This is where you say yes. Okay, thank you. All right, here we go. Remember the Titans? That's my high school. Okay, this is where you go, oh, okay, no, forget it, it's too late. So, again, I am 1.4. I am 1.4. T.C. Williams was named after a very racist superintendent. There was a renaming process to rename the high school to Alexandria City High School because we are about equity and making sure all children have access. And that's a lot of work. So how do I overcome that? It's not easy. It's not easy. But what is easy is remembering that all of our children need us. And there was a number of children here working today, and the young man that got up and sang, we need to make sure that we are paving the way for them. So you may not be an educator, but you have a role in this to play. So yes, Denzel has not been to my school district. I am waiting for him to come. So if you know him, tell him I need him to come. But the story here is a story kind of like the life I've lived, because there were so many challenges and you cannot stop. And these football players who, when you watch the Disney movie, it's highlights and all of this great stuff. That is not the real story of Alexandria, and that is not my story. These are the real Titans. These are the living legends that were actually in the 70s being discriminated against, threatened, and everything else that you don't really see in the Disney movie. And so when I get challenged in my work about how am I going to get over what I've been faced, because when I was named the first Black woman, people would tell me, I didn't believe we were going to have another one, because right before me, it was a Black male superintendent, and then I come along. So that wasn't an easy transition, but I did have a lot of support from the community. But there was a small portion of that community that I don't think they were too comfortable with me taking this role. But remember, I am a diverse school system in Northern Virginia, and I still had to experience that. And this was just a couple of years ago. I'm not talking 20 years ago, I'm talking recent times. But all I wanted to do was lead this division and change lives. That's it. It should not matter what color I am or what sex I am. It should not matter. And it is my job to make sure that I am not the last. I will not be the last. I am 1.4, but I will not be the last. By the way, if you ever meet them, they are characters. I'm going to warn you right now because they tell me everything I need to do. They've never been a superintendent, but they have all the answers, and they are hysterical. So this is just a few of the pictures when I was announced and getting all of that feedback from the community. And it didn't hit me. Like, I was honored to be the first Black woman, even though I knew there was going to be challenges. I had challenges as interim for 1 year. I knew it, but I had to persevere through it. And yes, I do work many hours, just like I'm sure Dr. Brad's. It's a 24/7 job, but it's a passion, and you know each and every day you have an opportunity to make a difference and have an impact. And so when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, I'm the first Black woman. You know, I was so happy to tell my parents. And then I realized Alexandria City Public Schools was established in 1785. That's almost 250 years ago. I should not have been the first. I should not have been the first in just 2 years ago. That's a long, long time. And so my family, they're so funny. They were like, I saw you on the news. I'm like, I know I was there. Like, they're always want to tell me, did you see it? I'm like, I was there. I don't need to go back and see it. It's so funny. But what was really hard was this is what people see. They see me at the games. They see us opening up. I have like a new high school. It's 5 stories. It has 2 swimming pools, all of these great things. I have academies. But they don't see the work behind the scenes that I do. They don't see that. And you don't really need to see that, because what you need to see is my kids succeeding so that they can have opportunities. So this is the other side of my life. Oh, happy first day. I'm fighting for culturally responsive leading and equity. That's what I do, and that's really great. I don't know if you can read that. Yep. Alexandria Budget and Fiscal Affairs Advisory Committee members resign after criticizing ACPS superintendent. There was a video. We have Zoom meetings and the community can watch, but typically it's recorded once they say the meeting has started and it is being recorded. On this day, there was a new tech person working in the city, and he was so excited, I guess, for his job, he started to record the meeting early before it started publicly. And guess what? They were talking about the new Black woman superintendent. And my staff was watching because they were a part of that. And my phone is ringing, and they were so upset, and they're running into my office, and I'm thinking, there is a major emergency going on in my school, because they know if I'm in a meeting, you got to give me the code. And they were like flashing the code. And I said, what is going on? And they were telling me. And I said, does it hurt children? No. Are you injured? No. We're going to move forward. If it's not about children, I don't want to know. And they couldn't believe it. Now, I'm going to tell you, there were some things running through my head, some things I wanted to say, but it was not about the children. It was not about the children. Stop with the noise and the distractions when it comes to our children. That's all we should be focused on. You keep hearing me talk about the 1.4. Black women make up only 1.4% of people leading school districts nationwide. I am 1.4. When there's 75% of women in education, I am 1.4%. Someone said to me, you're like Black girl magic. I said, there is no magic in this job here. There is no magic. So when I come to you today to talk about all of the challenges and the things that I had to overcome, it's because I know it is bigger than me. There's a purpose in the work that we do, just like there's a purpose in the work that you do. I love to hear your passion and the way you are going to have an impact. And our previous educator, that's why we do this life that we live. If you walk in your passion and your purpose every day, it makes it so much easier. And there's a book, and I know Dr. Tony Brads knows this, we talk about all the time, keeping the main thing the main thing. Kids are our main thing. And so whatever challenges get thrown at me in this role as a superintendent or just as a woman in everyday life, as long as I know each and every day that I have touched one person, whether it's a student or an adult or someone that I may have passed in the lobby, then I've done what I was called to do that day. I'm an educator, just like our previous educator, and I'm gonna get you involved in one thing really quickly for me. And my family knows I've done this before, so I don't want to hear any comments from them right now. I love them dearly. I love you too. Sometimes, she said, did you all hear that? Sometimes. If you could just take one of your hands and open it up and hold it up. And I want you to think about one person that you know in your lifetime that you have impacted in a positive way. And I want you to picture that person in your head. Think about what you've done for them. And I know there's a table in the back that I know they do this every day. I talked to them earlier. I'm not going to call out those police officers in the back because they probably got like 100 names. But think about that person and what you did for them. Or maybe it was someone who did something for you. Once you have that visual, close your hand. When life gets tough, I want you to go back to this memory and push forward, move forward, continue to have an impact each and every day. That's all I ask of my staff and myself and my family. And when I meet students years later, first of all, I met one the other day, they're 30. I was a little worried. I said, that can't be, let me do the math, but they were correct. That's why we do this hard work called life. And the work of the NAACP when they're moving forward to have a great future for this community, I hope that you will continue to be a part of that and make change for the future. Because we have a very challenging future ahead of us. And if we pull together with each one of our ones, think about how powerful that can be. We are a powerful force each and every day. So I thank you for this opportunity to be here today. And I'm going to leave with one more quick thing. Every time I used to come into Culpeper, it felt like home. And coming through that hallway today felt like home. There's people in this room that are not blood family, but you make me feel like family. So thank you, congratulations, and I hope that you'll remember each and every day what impact you can have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. K. Wyatt. All of these presentations and speeches have been pretty great. They've all spoken to me. We have one more, and that's going to be Lieutenant Ashley Banks. I call him the pizza man, but that's an inside joke for maybe another time. So I'm excited for his as well. Hear ye him.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to be here, and good afternoon, everyone. I don't have a prepared speech, but I was told to tell a story, and I'll keep it short-ish. For one, I hate public speaking. People say, no, you're a great speaker. I said, no, I'm terrible. I hate it. But, you know, one of the things that makes me unique is my flexibility. So when I was told, you know, we were going to do this and I would be the first speaker, I'm like, okay, got myself prepared. We'll be going first right before lunch. Then it was, hey, we're going to pivot. You're going to be second right after lunch. Okay, got it. Hey, you're going to be bringing up the rear. You're going to be the last speaker. So, hey, good luck. It's interesting to be here because I know so many people in this room from different walks of life, whether it's my professional life, personal life, or whether it is just me growing up here in Culpeper. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lieutenant Ashley Banks, and I work with the Culpeper Police Department, the greatest law enforcement agency in the county. Thank you. But seriously, it's been an honor to work in law enforcement. I started out, like I said, I was born and raised here in Culpeper. It was interesting growing up because for me, I was truly lucky. I did not have a lot of disadvantages growing up. My parents, who many of you know, Carolyn Cookie Banks and Armstead Banks. My mom, educator for the school system for 39 years. Thank you. My dad worked for VDOT for 40 years, small little farm that, he toys with and, has a few cows and gets mad at me because I don't help him enough out on the farm doing stuff. But for me, growing up, it was interesting with my life. With my parents on my dad's side having multi-generationals from Culpeper. My mom, when they met, she was an educator in Philadelphia. And I've heard her tell me stories of when, she would come back to Culpeper to go to her grandmother's house. Would be my great-grandmother's house on Washington Street in the town of Culpeper, of the difference of my dad and my mom, how they met, how they grew up, and their differences growing up during segregation. My mom from Philadelphia, coming home or coming here to Culpeper and just not understanding why the State Theater was segregated and she could only watch a movie from the balcony, or not being able to go into a certain drugstore because of that. So all of those life lessons have kind of molded me. And I look back to me being in school, and my mom, if y'all know my mom, she's hilarious. She would always say, sometimes you're just going to be the only chocolate chip in that cookie. So with that mindset, I never looked at life any different. So from, I have some of my former teachers here with me. And I never got away with anything in school. I mean, especially when my mom was across the street, I couldn't get away with anything. But having that mindset of, maybe growing up I didn't play baseball, I didn't play football or basketball, I played soccer. And then the, mid-'80s, Culpeper was just getting on the map with soccer, and there was a few of us who played soccer and, stuck with it, even though it wasn't the norm, it wasn't the thing to do, but we continued with it. When I graduated high school, I decided, hey, I want to go somewhere away. I need to get away from my parents. I need to get away from Culpeper. So I decided on Old Dominion. So that's where I went. I was like, hey, that's 3 hours away. They can't come visit me all the time, and that'd be perfect. So yeah. So and it was funny because I think, and again, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So yes, it did take me 5.5 years to graduate, and did change my major 4 times. But I remember that first year, my parents dropping me off, and my dad laughing while he was crying. He's like, my baby's going, my son's leaving me. I'm like, Dad, I'm fine. And my mom's advice to me was, don't screw up, don't embarrass me. And I was like, okay, yes, ma'am. So they dropped me off the weekend before, or the week school started. That following year, they came back to pick me up. Like, that was it. I think my mom was like, hey, you're grown, you're at college, go have fun. During that time, like I said, I did not have what major I wanted to do. I went from engineering to electrical engineering to civil. I was just all over the place. And then I found something with criminal justice. And that's what I stuck to. And I said it then, and I kind of laugh at myself now of where I'm at in my position with the agency, but I was like, yeah, I never want to be stuck behind a desk. I always want to be out in the field doing something different every day, meeting new people, helping people, solving crimes, whatever it is. But, you know, from that, all those experiences kind of shaped me where I am right now. And I'll tell a story. Like I said, I was very lucky. I was very lucky to be black, a black male in this country. And I say this because there was only one time in my life, luckily, that I can say I was racially profiled. It was my last year in college, not my senior year, my last year. Yeah, we were coming back from a party, and it was three of us. It was four of us. It was myself, a Hispanic male, and two other white friends of mine, and we were walking back through a parking lot that was under construction. They were building homes, and I had a officer, City of Norfolk officer, asked me. He's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" I'm like, "We're just walking to my house from his house." He's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Do y'all have any ID?" And I said, "For what? Did we do anything wrong?" He said, "No." But I was like, okay, he's the police. I'll give him our IDs. So we're like, "So what's going on?" He said, "Well, there's been a rash of vehicle break-ins in the area." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. We heard about them." He's like, "Well, what do you mean you heard about them?" And I said, "I mean, it's kind of news. It's on TV. It's on campus, like vehicle break-ins." He's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "So you don't have anything to do with it?" "No, but I'm just as concerned as you because I also have a vehicle that I don't want to be broken into." So he gives us back our IDs and he says, "Well, thank you." And he said, "Y'all are free to go." He said, "Y'all don't match the description." So my question was, well, what was the description and why were we stopped? So luckily, that's why I can say luckily, that was my only type of profiling. But from then on, I was like, you know what? I want to do something in law enforcement. I want to help people. I don't want other people to go through even that simple bit of issue that I had, where I know so many other people are dealing with things much more prevalent in their lives. So, you know, fast forward to, 2005 and, went to the academy and, got hired with the police department and, less than 1%, I guess, at that time of black officers, a representation of the town, the county, the community we live in. As some people say, we're like, "Hey, you're like that unicorn out there, keep fighting a good fight." But, went through the academy, came back to Culpeper, and I thought for me it was going to be difficult to effectively do my job, do what was right, and knowing that friends from high school, people I hung out with, went to football games with, that I would see, and I don't want to say breaking the law, but have interactions with them where, "Hey, you were speeding. I know we're friends, but at the end of the day, you were speeding." How would they perceive that? Or if I had to go to a party to break up the party or something, or arrest somebody. What made me feel whole is those people I went to high school with and the relationships that I had with them growing up through school, and the type of person I am and my character didn't affect any of that. There have been people, even some of my own relatives, that I've arrested and I've not heard anything back, nothing negative. Just that, "Hey, we know you're doing your job and we respect you for it." So I know there's always a lot of talk about, law enforcement and the negativity of it. However, I will say this community as a whole has some of the best law enforcement officers in the area. And I'm not saying that just because I work there, not because the chief and the major are here, or the sheriff's here. I'm saying that because it's true. And for the people that know me, know my position at the police department, being involved with community policing and all the events and the Zoom meetings and just any type of organization that the police department has helped with, I think that all of that has shaped me of who I am, and that's my story. And honestly, I can't say anything negative, but looking back at it, this is the type of legacy I want to build. I have two small ones that are in school or about to be in school. My dad still says, he's like, hey son, we got this plot of land, and when something happens to me, I want to leave it to you and the grandkids, because hopefully they're going to want to build a house here on the farm. I'm like, I mean, yes, that's possible, and possible they might move to California too, Dad. So I said, I can't make them do that. I said, my sister is a Manassas, and she doesn't want to come back. So, I mean, that's what it is. But, that, to me, that's kind of my story. And like I said before, I'm lucky, and I'm so blessed for my upbringing that I just want to make sure everyone that I have an encounter with has a positive experience as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Banks. Good job. And to all of our speakers, again, thank you for your time, your energy, your stories. A lot of, and this is just, I guess, conventional wisdom that's been passed down, but from my understanding of the civil rights movement and of the fight for equality is that these stories, these experiences, sharing this with one another are the things that powered us and helped us continue to move forward. The work is often difficult, always worth it, but it takes some levity and it takes some community to make it all happen. Moving forward now to a very, very, I keep saying very special part of the program, but I get to introduce or to talk about our honoree, and we put his bio in this beautiful program, but I'll ad-lib and say what he's meant to me. So about 2022, I graduated from Hampton University and came home. No one else did. Came home and decided that I wanted to get involved. Didn't know how, didn't know where. I had a couple great mentors, one of them Dr. Harris, another one of them Reverend Lewis, and just decided I'll do NAACP, right? I was a member in college. Then I got roped into some stuff with Culpeper. Then I got roped into a couple other things. But one consistent voice that was always there speaking positivity and wisdom was Charles Jameson. There have been countless times where I've sat in boardrooms and realized that I'm the youngest one here. I have the least amount of life experience, and doubting what I could offer. And he's always had a smile. And he's always pushed me to speak on my thought process and to speak on what I believe. He's always had something to teach me about history. He's always reminded me about the important legacy that our community has. He's always inspired me to remain hopeful for what we can do here, and all of the great work and progress that we can make. Beyond all of the awards that he's been given, the numerous medals and certifications and criterias, that's what matters the most to me. And I'm sure for everyone here in this room, we all have a story about Charles Jameson that is very similar. We all have a story of us being illuminated by his warmth, his care, being comforted by his wisdom, and by his presence. And so I'm saying this, I'm trying to keep it to a minimum and not necessarily get slightly emotional, but we are here to honor a man who's in his youth was passionate and remains passionate in his elder days, a man who provides wisdom and courage and counsel unrelentlessly, and with joy. I pray that if the Lord allows me to live long enough, that I be like him and have that same impact. And I think that we all as a community and everyone in this room is better off because of the impact that Charles Jameson has had. So I will ask my vice president, I don't know where he went. Jason Ford, I'm gonna throw a shoe at you when I find you. But if not that, I'm gonna ask someone else to come up here so we can present the plaque to Mr. Charles Jameson. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it reads, the 2024 Culpeper NAACP President's Award presented to Charles Jameson, in deep appreciation for your commitment to discovering, honoring, and sharing the history of African Americans of the Piedmont region of Virginia. Your quest for knowledge and an understanding of our true history has enlightened and inspired us all. Given on October 5th, 2024, the NAACP Culpeper Branch 7058, Caleb Hackley, President.
Please. Yeah, I'm okay. This is a bit much, but I have to tell you this. I am aging, and 77 years old tells me that I'm not what I used to be. 77. Thank you for this recognition. I would like to thank my past educators, relatives, and friends who pushed me to be the best I can be. I would like to thank the Sons of the American Revolution for awakening me to some of this untold American history. I didn't take Black history in college for the one credit. I realize now I missed a lot of American history, such as the many roles the African Americans played while fighting for all men are created equal in 1776. Some African Americans were free men after the Revolutionary War, and some remained enslaved. Change was needed, and it certainly took a while for many, including women. The struggle is alive and well today. Thanks to the many before me and to Mortimer Marshall, who had the foresight to see the need to start the NAACP chapter. I had fond memories of him as a young boy, myself. As I look around the room and see the many faces who gave me and still give me inspiration, I would like to thank my many friends of all persuasions who have brought the many stories and showed me there are others who desire change for the betterment of all. We are not done yet, for there is much more to be brought to light. Thank you.
You forgot your plaque.
I don't know. Hey, I tell people I don't know where I am a lot of times.
And again, we have one more gift to present to you. It was up here. I think Miss Jennifer put it somewhere else. We'll get it to you. Okay. Moving forward now to our next order of business, we'll have our raffle. So I'm going to ask if Miss Ava Conway could come up and do the drawing for us. And I see Jason Ford in the background, so I'm going to throw my shoe at you when I see you. I'm sorry, law enforcement. I'm not being honest. It's just a joke, an inside joke. Me and Jason are very good friends. I was going to say, quick point of personal privilege. I went to Farmington, and Miss Stanley was one of the teachers there. And she used to do that. She used to get quiet until the classroom was just stopped. And all the wonderful educators. And I will take this as a point of personal privilege because I see educators that I dealt with all the time who definitely dealt with, that was horrible language. I apologize. Who nurtured me and cared for me and molded me into the young man that I am. So again, you're all here, and I just definitely want to emphasize that we as a branch take education very, very seriously. We strive to be engaged with our school system because, again, we're firm believers that education is indeed the profession through which everything else springs from. If you want to have a good society, you need to have an educated society. And I think we see the replications of that in our current day. So next up, we have a musical performance. I think it's our last musical performance. I believe it's Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is our anthem here at the NAACP. And you can find the lyrics in the back of your programs. After that, we'll come back with closing comments and closing prayer. I promise you I'll be brief.